My name is Malaki Vilodera. Now the hashtag is morning at NTV. Be sure to bring in your views now today. Yesterday we were looking at colors and political parties. How colors are actually significant in today's politics. Now today we are going to look at the growing use of religious language in politics. Of course, this is after we saw Honorable Robert Chagulanyi launch a music album, actually a music single that is totally religious, and we saw all pastors coming up in arms saying that, you know what, this is totally wrong, it's totally unacceptable when it comes to religious standards. It is not right. Now here in the studios, that's what we're going to be analyzing, and we need to get in your views on that. So like I said, the hashtag is morning at NTV. Now in studios I'm joined by Mr. Mwambutsia Ndebesa. He is a political analyst. He'll get us to give in his views, of course, from a political standpoint, and also to have the conversation, beg your pardon, balanced out. We have Bishop Zach Nirinje. He is a civil activist. Welcome, gentlemen, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So if my director will actually allow me, let's start with taking a look at this particular story so we can give context to this particular conversation. Let's take a look.
On December 31st at Nkuka, the annual New Year's Eve event in Kampala, musician turned politician Bobi Wine launched a new hit song in which he collaborated with other artists. The song is titled Tuliyambala Ngule, literally meaning we shall wear a crown. Since then, the song has become very popular among some segments of the public, but it has also faced great resistance, especially from the Pentecostal church. Pastor Martin Semper of Makere Community Church took on Bobi Wine on social media, claiming he had no right to mix politics with a religious song.
Him is talking about a campaign where when he becomes president or leader, then he himself, he says he will give medicines. That is not a new Jerusalem. It is cheapening. That Jerusalem is a fake. That is a fake New Jerusalem. Treatment of people is a fundamental human right.
According to Pastor Joseph Sewada of Victory Christian Church, the song could lead to Bobi Wine losing support.
Go and warn the member of parliament who is using the song. Tell him don't use God's property in blasphemous situations like this one.
The pastors warned Bobi Wine of dire repercussions if he doesn't denounce the song. For Bobi Wine, the musician at the center of the storm, such songs help him deliver his message as intended.
Also going to write to the Electoral Commission. I want the Electoral Commission to release a message to all politicians to cease and desist from the appropriation and the misuse of religious songs for political purposes.
One part of the song was sung by another pastor, Wilson Bugembe. His colleagues say it was a mistake for him to be part of the song. However, Bugembe claims he didn't realize the song was that political.
I think I underestimated its impact. And if I was to do it all over again, I'll be like, no. But when you see my part, my particular part, it did exactly what they told me. I'm not anti-government.
Bugembe criticizes the politics in the song, but is also unhappy with fellow pastors for putting Bobi Wine on the spot.
But I also encourage pastors to remember to preach the gospel of peace. The more we judge and be like, Hama, why did you do this? Why did you do this? We make some people hate church. We look like we are the enemy. We can counsel in love.
I spoke to a music analyst, George Chitaka, who says that the philosophy of the song is not against the church.
If there is no anything obscene, anything that is controversial to anyone, or infringing on somebody's rights, I don't see any challenge in that. I don't see any problem with the song.
Chitaka also differs from the pastors who claim that politics can't be married with.
So I'll start with you, Mr. Ndebesa. Is there anything wrong with this particular song? And as a political analyst, where do you think Bobi Wine got his inspiration from?
Thank you. I don't know. Wrong maybe depends on from which direction from which point of view you are making an assessment of this song. But anyway, somehow objectively, that all communicators, including political communicators, borrow from different disciplines, different sectors of society. I don't know those who, like those pastors who are saying that the politicians should not appropriate the language. I don't understand them. First of all, Engure, if my Uganda doesn't do me bad, means crown, and the crown is political language, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, we use Kabaka, King of Kings. That is borrowing from the political language. I mean, from the politics to religion. But even the other way around, in this country we have got one of the old denominational church, or I don't know how to call it, the bishop will tell us, a whole group, spiritual group called Salvation Army. They even use military language instead of archbishops and bishops and whatever. They use brigadier, lieutenant general, and the like.
Right.
I mean, if you go in the history of the church, both were borrowing the Lord. Yeah, we use the Lord. The Lord is a political language which was feudal language referring to certain people. So the church and the politics, or religion and the politics, have been borrowing each other's language.
So where do you think Bobi Wine got his inspiration from? Because many people are asking, he's, released quite a number of songs. Why now? Why did he have to go to the religious connotation now, in this political, kind of environment?
Yeah, just yesterday, when I was there, I just mentioned that in the Christian theology or Christian church, there is this concept of eschatology, the end of things, the end times, and triumph. You triumph. It is giving hope. It is giving a promise,
Right.
When you talk about promise, you inspire. Like even Moses in the Old Testament, when he was talking about the promised land, so that he encourages the Israeli people to move on. So when he is talking about Engure, which is crown, wearing the crown, triumphing at the end, he is inspiring people, giving them hope, maybe whom he thinks that they are desperate or they have despair. He's giving them hope, to hope for a day when they will be triumphant. So he just borrows the language, or appropriates the language of religion, because that concept is popular and it can appeal to the minds of the supporters or non-supporters, but those whom he can now create as an identity for his cause. And as I have just mentioned, both borrow from each other. Now, the difference which you see there now coming up with those pastors, mainly from the Pentecostal church, I think that's another politics now. There has been politics between the mainland churches that are traditional churches, and these Pentecostal churches. And they have been borrowing this language. For example, President Museveni, in his New Year's speech message, he was quoting Matthew. I haven't heard them say you are misusing the Bible.
So what you're saying,
I wanted to mention here that I have a friend of mine in religious studies, Makerere University, Professor Musana, who himself is a Pentecostal. If he's listening, there is no pun intended. He uses even NRMs to refer to these new religious movements, i.e. the Pentecostal church. He refers to them as NRMs. He has been at public lectures which I have attended, calling them NRMs, and I haven't heard them protest that you are using NRM to refer to us.
So what
President Museveni's first group was called Front for Salvation. Something like that.
National Salvation.
Front for National Salvation.
Right.
That salvation is borrowing from the church, from the religious language, from spiritual area.
So, Mr. Ndabesa, what you're ideally saying is that the Pentecostal churches are trying to jump onto Bobi Wine's popularity for gaining a name, so to speak?
No, the Pentecostal churches, if anything, they are jumping on that one. This is my interpretation,
right,
which is subject to discussion. They are looking at the mainland churches as it is a space, it's contestation of space between the Pentecostal church and mainland churches. Because Chagulanyi launched that Ngure Singh at Nkuka in Rubiri,
right,
which faction was presided over, or at least in terms of prayers, by the Roman Catholic Archbishop or Bishop. And they didn't invite the Pentecostal church. And Chagulanyi himself, well, is a Christian of the Roman Catholic Church. And so I can see some competition, because on the same day,
right,
you saw Pastor, not Sempa, the other one is who?
Joseph
Serwata, also giving a crown to President Museveni at Nambori. And I haven't had people complain. So I think there is some competition, and if you want to get it very clearly, I came here with this book. I wish the camera person can capture it very well. It is written by certain Paul Gifford, African Christianity, its public role in Uganda and other African countries. This book writes about the Pentecostal church and politics in Africa, and normally supporting the establishment. And the mainland churches seeming not to be with the establishment. In most cases, we are generalizing here now.
Right.
So I think now you can see the competition for public recognition between the mainland churches
and the Pentecostal churches.
And that brings in these Pentecostal church pastors, bring in this one, forgetting that the word crown was borrowed from the political language.
Okay, thank you so much for your breakdown, and you just trying to help us understand from a political standpoint. Let's now flip over to Bishop. Bishop, what's your view on this? Is Bobby Wine on the wrong side when he used, religious connotations in his new single? Was there anything wrong with that?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, to engage with my brother here, borrowing religious language borrowed by politicians borrowing religious language. I think to use the word borrow is itself appropriate, is possibly better.
Right.
But it actually reflects a fundamental flaw, and I would engage with this with my friend here, that suggests that there is language that is appropriate for politics and there is language appropriate for religion. Let's simply be clear. Religion is about the ordinariness of people's lives in community.
Right.
How they relate to the otherness of God, the otherness of the other. And politics is about the ordinary lives of people in community. Politics is education, healthcare, how people live together, how people access public goods and services. And religion is about how people buy faith in the ultimate God, reality, how they engage in this world,
right,
not just the expectation of the other world. So
right,
I think we simply have to recognize that this language of borrow, this language it has a problem because it buys into the separateness of spheres. Politics as one sphere, religion as another sphere. No, we live in a very deeply spiritual world. Politics is within the arena of a spiritual world. Right. So, not surprising, General Museveni at the inauguration, remembrance of 50 years of independence, he has a long prayer. I can read it to you at some stage. He prays as though he were a pastor.
Right.
As my brother here speaks about it. He prays, they pray. Is prayer a preserve of a pastor? No.
No.
Absolutely,
so Bobby Wine is not
prayer
wrong.
I think, my dear sister, wrong, right, I don't know that that is even a helpful way to engage in this conversation.
You know, we really want to get the voice of the church, and maybe now that people have already judged him, what's your stand on this?
Is wrong or right? I don't think it's a good helpful way to engage in this.
Okay.
But secondly, I think let's also, the characterization Pentecostal churches have judged him, I don't think itself is fair, because the two pastors that I have, you know, the clip that you recorded, Pastor Martin Semper, I don't think that he speaks for the Pentecostal churches. He has a community church that he leads. He's a pastor in his right, but I don't think he speaks for the Pentecostal churches. David Serwada doesn't speak for the Pentecostal churches. So I think to also even characterize and say that the Pentecostal churches have spoken against this song and its usage, I think is also a characterization that's not helpful, because we haven't had, there are, I know, 3 associations of churches. We have the Uganda Joint Christian Council, which represents Church of Uganda, the Orthodox Church, and the Roman Catholic Church. That's one. We have the National Fellowship of Ben Again and Pentecostal Churches. It is a structure. They haven't spoken. I don't know that Pastor David Serwada called his organization, I think it's called the Born Again Federation.
Right.
I don't know that he speaks in that capacity.
But if you were to speak, Bishop, if you were to speak, where would you place him? Has he done anything wrong? Is the song wrong?
I think the first thing, my dear sister, I'm trying to say is, even you in the media, kindly help us. Don't buy into a narrative that boxes us into. So very clear, I'm simply saying they're not speaking for the Pentecostals. There is a whole variety, there's a whole diversity of opinion. Now, what Bobi Wine did, Honorable Chagulanyi, is not, I mean, as my brother speaks, it's history.
Right.
So let's put it this way. We are in a country, in a situation in which the state has taken a position of repression, using instruments of the state to repress dissenting opinion. And in situations like these, and it's definitely to be likened to the story of apartheid in South Africa, right?
Right.
Where the official state was repressive, was sectarian, used the instruments of the state to repress not just dissenting opinion, but actually to take away the dignity, to oppress the people. This is where we are. Absolutely. Look, Bobi Wine can't stage a concert. Bobi Wine does not have the freedom to express a different political view.
So what you're saying?
We have that situation in apartheid South Africa,
right,
and the civil rights movement in America, led by a pastor. One of the leaders of the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King Jr. And let me tell you, my friend, Christian hymns, Christian songs, songs that are inspired, are grounded in faith. My goodness, they are what are at the very heart of the civil rights movement in America. In apartheid South Africa, you have, you should look at, so to sing songs of hope, as my brother communicates, how else do you want people to have hope? It's hope in God.
Let me ask you a question.
Who else is going to change this thing?
Let me ask you a question, and I need a yes or a no. Of course, Mr. Ndebes has said that
I'm sure you know I can't give yes or no, so please don't try that. It's too complicated.
You're already running away from the yes or no. Just on this one. Just on this one.
The language of judge.
On this one, of course, Mr. Ndebes has said that this could be, some sort of competition between the mainstream churches and the, Pentecostal churches. Now, from you as a bishop, where would you put yourself? And when we look at this, do you think that this judgment of Bobi Wine coming from the Pentecostal churches is politically inspired by the ruling government?
Okay, so first of all, as I say to you, my sister, I think don't say from Pentecostal churches. Just simply say from pastors Joseph Serwada and Martin Semper, because they don't speak for the Pentecostal churches.
Okay.
That's the first point.
Right.
So I think we want to ask, let's talk about Pastor Joseph Serwada. Okay, let's just check who is Pastor Joseph Serwada. Who is he? Not too long ago, I think I read a story, I actually hoped it was wrong, but that said that Dr. Joseph Serwada had crowned President Museveni as the best leader. And I'm thinking, okay.
It was actually in the papers on Monday.
I want to have a conversation with Joseph. What is your basis? What is your basis? I listened to my brother Martin Semper, and he's talking about the real Jerusalem, the new Jerusalem. I want to have a discussion with Martin Semper about heaven. You know, is heaven only the reality we are looking forward to? The Bible is very clear that we begin heaven here on earth. It's a little bit of an experience. Eternal life begins here. And I think what Bobby Wine and others, and you read in the, I mean, you check the hymnody, both of Church of Uganda, Roman, all these. It speaks about certain expectations of life here on earth. Jesus himself said, I came that they may have life, his people, the people that are saved, that come to him, humanity. I came that they may have life
and life in abundance.
Have life in abundance.
Right.
Where? Right here.
Okay.
So there is absolutely, so really, frankly, let's change the conversation. Let's talk about Joseph Serwada. Let's talk about Martin Semper. Let's talk about Wilson Bugembe.
All right.
So Wilson Bugembe comes back and he says, I made a mistake. I didn't realize that this song would have such political ramifications. And I'm thinking, Wilson, and then Wilson says, I am not anti-government. And I'm thinking, Wilson, do you understand what you're even talking about
He even
here?
said that he is underestimating the impact of
precisely.
the song.
So this is what you want to ask. Now, let me also say this, that it's not the first time when you hear this kind of language from those of us who carry a tag religious leaders. It's not the first time. But let's discuss the merits of their judgment, the individuals, and the merits of the song. What's the message?
And you know, at this point, let's just get to hear where, you know, the person in this question, the real main person in this conversation, what he had to say in his defense, Mr. Bobby Wine, Honorable Robert Chagulanyi. Let's take a look.
Inspired me, especially having been singing it in church. Religious songs inspire the soul, and I think it's okay for as long as it is on a noble cause, a cause to make life better.
By stopping our music, President Museveni and his people are committing a crime. They're denying us our economic rights. You know, if we were committing any crime or, you know, disobeying any laws, we would be apprehended and prosecuted.
Mr. Ndebesa, I'll get to you on this one. Many said, of course, in the first story, even when he looked at it, and even Bobby Wine coming to his defense, many said that this could cost him, you know, political influence because of just this song, that this song could cost him everything that he's worked so hard to amass. Do you think that? Do you think so?
Well, some of the statements made, like we are hearing, can one way or the other impact on people's perceptions and political directions, but it could do the other way around. It could give him even more support because it's an identity question. That language was identity formation. You use that language, you use that color for identity formation, so he could have a side that would follow him, because all of them are actually appropriating the language from religion or politicians. Language are also practices. These days, are you hearing of prayer breakfasts?
Yes.
They never used to be here. That tradition was not here. Now we have prayer breakfast, which is borrowed from America. I think also has a tradition of the Pentecostal church. All are trying to find ways and means of communicating, of mobilizing. So it could give him some political support on the other hand, because there are those who support him using that language. So I don't think that you can clearly say that you lose out. But there could be some who might be persuaded by the other side and they say, well, maybe he used the inappropriate language. But as we have pointed out, me and the Bishop here, really, this is historical. In historical time, from historical times to the present, there has been borrowing from each other. I heard the pastor there saying that he's going to write to the Electoral Commission.
Right.
Let him write to the Electoral Commission to stop using "For God and My Country," because that is taking it to politics. Let him write to the government of Uganda to stop using the national anthem, which is nothing but a prayer worship. In fact, after you have sung the national anthem, as I said here even yesterday, you probably may not need again to have more prayers, because itself is a prayer. So where do you separate these languages? Because these are people using that language, and historically we have been using that language. So, and as I pointed out, I will point it out again, Ngure is borrowed from the political language. Let him now write to the church or whatever, to the Bible, I don't know what he would say, that they should stop using the crown, because the crown was borrowed from the political language.
Speaking about the crown, last year we saw Honorable Chagulanyi come out to say clearly, you know what, I'm not interested in the big seat of the land. But do you think with this song being, you know, released into the public, him even going to studios, producing a song is quite a process. Of course, there's the inspirational beat where you now get down to writing the lyrics. Do you think his stand is now changing, that maybe he's rethinking his stand, that maybe come 2021 we'll be seeing him in the ballot papers?
I don't think he has changed. Definitely when you are in politics at that level, when he's already a member of parliament, his aspirations must be and ambitions must be very high. That could be tactical language that he said he was not interested in the big post. Yesterday night I had on one of the TVs that he was saying that no, we are aiming at that one as well. I mean, that's political language. When the President Museveni the other day told us that it was on your TV here,
right,
NTV, in Patrick Kamala's show,
right,
he said, I don't think anybody after 75 would add any value. But now he later removed the thing to continue. Chagulanyi could have been tactical, could have been using tactics so that he's not overwhelmed and undermined when he says I'm aspiring for the big one. But I think he's a young man who has got ambitions. Whether he will achieve it or not, that's a different discussion. But I think he has those ambitions, and that Ngure thing, the crown which he's using, definitely is aiming at the summit. So I don't see why we should even debate that one, whether Chagulanyi has got ambitions of a higher post or not. He's a politician, and he is instrumentalizing music for political ends. He is now borrowing language like also other politicians have borrowed, and even religion has also borrowed. All you need to do when you are communicating is borrow popular phrases in order to communicate and inspire people to follow you or understand your message. So he's messaging, nothing more, nothing less.
We should not be shocked come 2021 to see him in the ballot papers. He could be vying for president come 2021. That's what you're saying.
I don't know about his ambitions, but I suspect that even if he doesn't appear there in 2021, he will appear there another time, because I mean, being an MP, even in different countries, Barack Obama was, I think, a member of the Congress.
Right.
So that's how he rose, and others are senators. So once you reach that level where Chagulanyi has reached, you get that popularity, you get that celebrity. I have read in the papers, is it true that he's going even to address
today,
the UK Parliament?
Today, yes.
If somebody can go to address the UK Parliament, why wouldn't he aspire to be the president of Uganda?
Okay.
So it wouldn't be anybody's surprise unless one is not politically illiterate.
Bishop, let me get to you, and I need your honest views on this one. Of course, we saw quite a number of pastors in that story say that, you know what, there will be dire consequences, that Chagulanyi will actually face dire consequences thanks to this song, that there will be repercussions. We know that the churches, the leaders, religious leaders have a huge following, and whatever they say is taken as the gospel truth, of course, with the flock.
Not necessarily.
Many a time. So do you think for real that he will face the repercussions of, you know, having come out with this song? Is there anything tangible to that comment?
I think that we've got to ask ourselves where we are as a country. What causes these pastors to speak the way they are speaking? This sense of ultimatums. I mean, I was shocked that Dr. Joseph Serwada even used the language of blasphemy. And I'm thinking, so we are in a very, very, very difficult place as a country. Please, let's remember, Bobi Wine has suffered the brutal side of this state, of this Museveni state. He was brutalized, he was hospitalized, he was denied to do a concert of his own. I mean, he's not ashamed to say that he's singing songs that give hope for freedom. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you've heard, I think, I have heard, and I haven't yet cross-checked, but you might tell me, that there is an attempt by the Communications Commission to ban such songs. This is the place where we are as a country, where dissenting views from those of General Museveni are being punished. And I am one of those who've suffered immensely, you know, not just simply tear gas, prison, for simply saying the Museveni regime is a corrupt regime. And it's public knowledge, you can see what is happening. So we're not really in business as usual politics. Even to be discussing presidential, this president, no, we're in a situation in which people are simply crying for freedom. Freedom to be able to exercise different views in this country. We have a president who's been here for coming to 35 years, and it's a repressive environment. It's oppressive. It's the people of Kasese. It's not, you saw the back and forth of the leadership of Kasese after they massacred, after the state massacred, you know, it said 200 people. This is where we are as a country. So to even discuss elections and so on, we are in a place in which people are yearning simply to be free in this country. People are yearning to just simply the basics. Start primary 1, finish primary 7. The basics, that's where we are. And I think that people like Bobi Wine, they are necessary in this country. They cast a ray of hope. And there are pastors also who are seeking and speaking about hope.
Right.
That's what we need. Now, so for me, it's not about political contestation, who wins or loses. The truth of the matter is, if we continue as we are today, the whole country is losing.
So what we are agreeing on this table is that there's nothing wrong with that song. That's what we're agreeing fundamentally on this table.
Not only is there nothing wrong, but actually we need many more people in this country sounding a message of hope. I was very excited listening to the verse that Wilson Mugembe sang, peaceful change. Right. You know, that's what we need to hear. And pastors should not be afraid to precisely say that, but it's not just pastors. You know, you say to me, you as a bishop, actually I am here as a citizen of this country. I long to see, you know, better services for this country, not the kind of corrupt machinery that you have. So let's have more such songs and let them be sung in church and be sung anywhere.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Amen, absolutely.
Mr. Ndebesa, unfortunately we are running out of time. So your last remark on this
What I am saying is that there is nothing wrong with appropriating the language, provided you don't necessarily abuse it. And I don't see what it was abused there. This pastor has actually talked about Kabaka wa Kabaka. Kabaka is the Luganda word meaning a king.
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
And Jesus should be above these kings.
Right.
That's what we believe in Christianity.
The king of kings.
But that's what we believe in Christianity.
Right.
Now, if you appropriate the language Kabaka in order to pass on a message, have you reduced Jesus to king?
But you see, language is language.
Yes.
There is no political language, no religion. No. There is language. Kabaka, the language is a gift given to culture.
All right.
Right? So there is
Kabaka.
There is language specific
I don't agree.
certain professions,
I don't agree.
certain sectors. I don't agree. Now, I also don't agree with you. There is language associated with certain professions, certain sectors, certain beliefs, and in this case, we are saying that there is nothing wrong with having interchange between the two, and there is also nothing wrong, by the way, with politicians or religious people going into the other area.
All right.
The prophets in the Christian faith were actually talking more about politics more than even issues of theology.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mwambutsa Debesa, and also Bishop Zach Nyiringine. Thank you so much for coming in studios. We wish we had more time, but of course this is a story that will still follow through. It is developing. Let's see where this wave goes to. The hashtag is Morning at NTV. We truly value your views, so keep them coming. The hashtag Morning at NTV across all the social media platforms. Don't go away. Morning at NTV still continues.
Watching Morning at NTV.